Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. I was in Norfolk last week, hence no update, and the weather was actually very mixed. Bright sunshine at times, overcast skies at others, as you can see on this photograph. There was also some rain around, and that really summed up the picture across southern Britain quite well, I think. In places there were torrential downpours, for example, parts of London were hit by them, but in others, only 25 miles away, for example in Berkhamsted, where my weather station is, the rain totals remained very low. In fact, only 6.6 millimetres recorded so far through the entire month. Will that be changing during the next 2 weeks? Can we expect more rain in southern Britain where it is most needed? Well, I'll begin by taking a look at the view across Europe and the North Atlantic. The animation runs from 18 GMT, Tuesday the 23rd. At the outset, low pressure is centred to the west, the northwest, and that's bringing a changeable theme across the UK, but the rain is mostly in the north and the west. Central and eastern England seeing a little bit of showery rain at times, but it's staying mostly dry there. In the short term though, a weather front starts to push southeastwards. It's got cooler air behind it, and it could perk up through Wednesday night and Thursday, bringing the possibility of some heavy downpours into southeastern England, East Anglia perhaps. I'll look at that in a little more detail later because there is a lot of uncertainty. Once that clears away, somewhat fresher conditions return, and it remains quite changeable in the north and the west with further rain at times, but high pressure is building back, bringing dry conditions to most of southern and central Britain. And then through the bank holiday weekend, it really stays quite settled. High pressure is dominating. There could be a little bit of rain in the northeast for a time. And then towards the very end, when this animation finishes, Wednesday the 31st, there are some indications of it turning more unsettled again in the northwest, and Atlantic flow starting to return. The air temperature profile through the same period is worth taking a look at because yellows and oranges covering most of the UK to begin with, so it's warm, at least at this level, about 1,500 metres above our heads. Cooler air in the west, in the northwest, and that tries to push southeastwards, and it has some success, but for much of the period, the yellows and oranges are covering central Britain, the greens making more inroads into the north. So cooler air pushing down, but really just making it into the north consistently, at times flirting with southern and central regions, but the picture in the southern half of Britain is often quite a warm one if this is correct. Now, how that maps to the temperatures down at the ground level, maximums here from the GFS, 15 GMT, Wednesday the 24th, perhaps a hot 30 Celsius there just being reached in the southeast or East Anglia. Very warm air at this point. Cooler as you head northwestwards, but still quite warm even there in northeastern Scotland, 20, 21 Celsius. Moving forwards to Thursday the 25th, temperatures now dipping. Not too bad though, 23, 24, 25 in central parts of Britain. Cooler in the southeast, and that's because this is the period when those heavy downpours could be hitting that part of England. So I'll look at that in a little bit more detail in a few moments. Saturday the 27th, so into the all-important bank holiday weekend, quite warm still, 24, 25 Celsius, cooler in the northwest, but there, eastern Scotland still reaching 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit. Jumping forwards to Monday the 29th, bank holiday Monday, cooler air there, making inroads across the north and northeast in particular, so maximums 14s, perhaps 57 Fahrenheit, very cool if it's correct. Still a lot warmer in the south, much warmer, in fact 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. A big temperature range across the UK on bank holiday Monday. But I think that GFS run, which those values are based on, is a little bit out of kilter with the ensemble members. Here's the mean at the same time, so Monday the 29th, a little cooler in the south than the GFS was, 23, 24, 25, and conversely, temperatures in the north there are somewhat higher. So I think the GFS operational run just maybe taking the extremes there. In the north, cooler than the outcome, and in the south, perhaps a little bit warmer than what we can actually expect. The values here could well be closer to the mark on Monday. The all-important rainfall. Days 0 to 5, ECM on the left, GFS on the right. Both of them are hinting at some rain in the southeast and East Anglia, but really the GFS on the right just has it on the coastal areas, just fringing the southeast for a time. ECM perhaps a little bit wetter. The general picture from both of them, though, is for rain totals to be higher in the west and the north of the UK. Because of the uncertainty about those downpours on Thursday in the southeast, I'm going to bring up some more data. These charts are from the Meteo France model. The one on the left shows the actual rain rate at 11 GMT, Thursday the 25th. If it's correct, the chance of rain is actually quite widespread in the south, east and East Anglia. The totals on the right by the end of the day are reaching between 9 and 14 millimetres or so. Data from the UK Met Office models suggests a good deal of uncertainty, though. The UKV on the right with rain rate at 07 GMT, Thursday the 25th, also indicating the possibility of some heavy bursts in the southeast of Britain. But the MOGREPS ensemble plot on the right shows a good deal of variance between the individual runs in it. Quite a lot of them at this point are keeping it completely dry in the southeast. It's a very, very uncertain picture. And the trend in recent weeks really has been for computer models to overstate the risk of rain in southern Britain. Therefore, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if the southeast misses out again on Thursday. Definitely something to keep an eye on, though. Moving forwards to the 0 to 10 days period, much wetter according to the ECM on the left. All parts of the country can expect significant amounts of rain, but compare that to the GFS chart on the right. The values there have hardly increased in much of southern and eastern Britain from the 0 to 5 day period. In fact, there are one or two grid points there showing 0 millimetre accumulations between days 0 and 10, completely dry if the GFS is right in some locations in the southern half of the UK. Much uncertainty. Does taking a look at each of the individual deterministic models cast any light on things? Here's the GFS, Tuesday the 30th, high pressure centred to the north. This is when the cooler air is making it down into northeastern Britain. So hence the lower temperatures on Bank Holiday Monday. The Canadian model shows something similar, high pressure to the north. German ICON model, reasonably consistent as well, but the European ECM, significantly different. Low pressure here having a good deal more influence, and that really was reflected on the rainfall chart which I showed, the 10-day accumulations being much higher than the GFS was going for. Finally, the UK Met Office Global, it's more akin to what the ICON, GFS and GEM are showing, with high pressure to the north of the UK. A settled scenario for most areas if it's correct. Always a chance with high pressure to the north that areas of low pressure could begin pushing up from the south, bringing the risk of showery conditions into southern Britain. Generally, though, those models which have high pressure to the north at this point are keeping things dry across the UK. Taking them all together, at the time of filming, the most likely scenario would seem to be for settled conditions. I'm not entirely discounting the ECM scenario, but it looks like an outlier run. In fact, the ensemble members don't really support it. I've not brought the chart up to show that. I took a look at it a little bit earlier. I think, therefore, quite a settled picture by the end of week one. Relatively warm in the south, somewhat cooler in the north. Well, what about week two? As ever, it's trends and probabilities at this range, definitely not specifics. Beginning with the 16-day GEFS plot for London. Air mass temperatures across the top, above average. The thick purple line, the ensemble mean, stays below the 30-year norm, the thick black line. Quite a big spread develops, but on this occasion the ensemble mean is probably quite representative of the most likely scenario. Rain across the bottom, not many spikes to start off with, therefore mostly dry. The number of them increases towards the end as we head into September, hinting only that it could be turning somewhat more changeable by then. Up to Manchester as we head northwest, the signal on the air temperature profile is for it to be slightly above the average, the anomaly smaller than it was on the London chart. The risk of rain increases, not many spikes to start off with, but quite a few later on, again highlighting the chance of that trend towards a more changeable or unsettled pattern. And going up to Glasgow really reinforces that view. This time the MS temperatures are close to the average, not much of an anomaly there at all. The difference though is there are more rain spikes, so the risk of rain increasing progressively through week 2 and into the early part of September. Taking them together, it would suggest more changeable or unsettled conditions returning to the northern half of the UK, perhaps making their way southwards. Very uncertain though. The 2-metre temperatures, London first, the light oranges and the darker oranges, 16s to 20s, 21s to 25s, still a number of reds, 26 to 30s. Warm probably being the favoured outcome here, at least relative to the average, although at this time of year the maximums are starting to dip a little bit, so not hot but pleasantly warm. Up to Manchester, cooler than London but still not at all bad for the time of the year. In fact, there's one run at the very end there going into the pink bucket. That would be over 30 Celsius, extremely hot, but of course there are 30 runs being plotted here, so 1 is a very small number in this case. And then finally up to Glasgow, temperatures lower again, some of the yellows, quite a lot of it, 11s to 15s, the dominant colour, the oranges, which are 16 to 20. The trend therefore across all these is for it to be warmer in the south, very much as expected. There isn't really much change through the week, perhaps something of a cooling trend, but it's not very well marked at all. Just broadly speaking, lower temperatures in the north than in the south. The 10-day GEFS mean surface level pressure plot, so this is taking all the runs in the GEFS and averaging them out, is pointing towards low pressure beginning to have more influence across the northern half of the UK, high pressure to the southwest, really quite a typical pattern, and it's well supported on this update by the European ECM. High pressure here from the Azores, perhaps still having more influence across southern Britain, more of a changeable theme in the north. And really the 10 to 15 day pressure anomaly chart backs up that possible transition towards a more mixed outlook. The anomaly is slightly negative through this period in southern Britain. Higher pressure at least, would seem to be centred to the west and to the north. An increasing chance of rain in the south. If it's correct, well, we've been here several times before, but there is some evidence for it to happen based on the data which I've been using here. Definitely worth keeping an eye on as we head towards the end of August and into the early part of September. And the data table showing mean surface level pressure for York also backs that up, at least to an extent. More oranges greens begin to appear. Those are runs going for between 996 and 1010 millibars. Even a little bit of blue, the very low pressure runs, 981 to 995. Well, when I say very low pressure, really what I mean is for the time of the year, and it's a tiny minority, once again, just 3% of the ensemble. But the trend there, probably towards somewhat lower pressure later on. Finally, something completely different, because I know a lot of people have been saying that I talk about warm weather too much, above average temperatures, etc., etc. All I can do is discuss what the data is showing, and that is really what it has been showing for most of the time this year. But if it's getting too warm for you, here's the GEFS-based snow row forecasts for the Cairngorms. This is the time of year when one or two of the ensemble runs begin to forecast a possibility of falling snow over the Scottish mountains. And so far, 5 of the GEFS members have gone for it since the 19th of August. This just plots them, and they reached a maximum of 2 there on the 19th. Autumn and winter are approaching, but at least in the short term, it looks like staying warm in southern Britain. Okay, to summarise, week 1, rain mainly in the north and the west, although there is that risk of downpours in the southeast and East Anglia on Thursday. Quite a lot of uncertainty though about whether or not they will turn up. After a very warm and muggy start, it begins to turn fresher as that weather front clears southeastwards. Despite that though, it's still going to be quite warm, particularly in the southern half of the UK. Fingers crossed for the bank holiday weekend. On the whole, it's looking settled, pleasantly warm sunny periods for much of the UK. There is that possibility though of it being somewhat colder, or at least cooler, in the north and the northeast, where there could also be a few showers. Week 2, the risk of rain increases in the north as it starts to turn more changeable or unsettled, and it could extend southwards later on. Temperatures often above the average in the south. Relative to the norm though, it is cooler in the north. So there we have it. Quite a mixed picture, but for the southern half of Britain at least, a good deal of warm weather to come, still a very summery flavour to things, more changeable and cooler at times in the north as we head into September. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then as ever, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thank you for watching now. Bye.